I started to do some research and I find out that this man is a whole husband and a whole dad. I had never been alone as an adult. I had always been attached to someone, either, someone trying to pursue me or me interacting or engaging with a man. Welcome to Favor and Beauty, the podcast where we acknowledge beauty that turns heads, but we really dive deep into beauty that turns hearts. And I am your host, Jenaé, and we are in there. This is episode 4. Excited to be here. Thank you for joining me. Let's get into it. So as a recap to our last episode, episode 3, we talked about fear. And I shared my experiences and how I've been dealing with having symptoms of social anxiety, how it's been to navigate the world, and some practical things that I've been doing to combat those feelings and to show up more as my authentic self. It was a good episode. I hope you all took something from it. If you haven't listened to it, I encourage you to go back and listen. So let's get into our first segment, which is called Beauty is Their Name. And in this segment, we acknowledge someone who is showing up beautifully in the world. And so this week, we're going to talk about a couple. They're called, where their name is the Perrys, and specifically their podcast. So it's called 30 Minutes with the Perrys. I'll be sure to link it so that you can find their channel. But I really love their podcast because they're a young couple. They don't always talk about relationship related things in terms of romantic relationships or their relationship with each other, but they're really just pouring into their audience and talking about their lives as believers and how they are navigating everyday life. They're funny. I really love the aesthetic of their podcast. So shout out to the Perrys. You're really pouring out some amazing information into the world and really edifying your audience. So shout out to y'all. All right, so let's get into the chair. So the chair is the main event. So when you go to the salon, you go to a barbershop, you go to a nail salon, once you get in the chair, you're about to get what you came there for. You're gonna leave the chair feeling good, looking good, relaxed. And so that's what I hope you receive from this episode or this segment that we're about to get into. And as you saw from the title, we're going to talk about the single season. And I want to emphasize season because let me tell you something. I cannot wait to my man, y'all to life. So season meaning seasons change and seasons are temporary. So eventually I am going to be married one day. So I just wanted to make that part very, very clear. But just as an introduction, I want to just give a little bit of my background in terms of relationships as an adult. And so I will say 21 after undergrad, college. So after undergrad, there was some situationships, relationships. I got, a relationship. I got married. I got engaged and then I got married. Then I got divorced. And then there are more situationships and now I am single. So I want to provide that context because I know my perspective is very different than someone who has never been married or has never been in a relationship. But I do feel like either way, what I'm about to share would be beneficial to you. So I just wanted to, give that background. So, um, I will also highlight that I have never, well, in sharing my background, I have never been single. And when I say single, I mean completely alone. So, not romantically involved with a person at all. And to me, I'm saying to me because I know how y'all like to tussle sometimes. To me, that is a problem. And I say that's a problem because I know that there were a lot of things that I needed to work through before I attached myself to someone else in terms of a relationship or a marriage. Um, but what initiated the single season? So I'm gonna share a story, which is I'm letting y'all into my business, even though I have this in every episode, but this is a little different because I'm specifically talking about a relationship, a situationship. Let me correct that I was in. So in 2021, a lot of great things were happening to me. And if you want more context, you can listen to episode 1 where I talk about it in a lot more detail. But essentially, I was seeking value and worth through external things that were happening in my life. So, um, me being in a relationship was another one of those things. So, I graduated, I bought a house, I got a new job. All of these things were happening. So I'm like, okay, of course, the next step is to be in a relationship. I was wrong and I had no business going there, but we'll get to that in a second. So because I just thought that a relationship was the next step, I started to actively seek out a relationship. In the way that I actively sought out a relationship was I got on a dating site. Had never done it before. I don't think that and especially where I was at the time, not able to trust other people or trust myself, I had no business being on a dating site, but I had a goal in mind. And so I get on a dating site and I, connect with some guys and, really nice guys. You chat in the app and then you start texting. Some of them go places, go further than just texting. Some of them don't. I went on a couple dates. But then I met this one guy and I really felt drawn to him. So just keep that in mind. I felt drawn to him. So, of course, we were talking in the app, then we started texting, then we started talking on the phone, the natural progression, I guess. And then we meet in person. It felt very natural. He was cool. I didn't feel, for this to be my first time meeting somebody in this way, it didn't feel like it felt natural. And so, I was excited about this person. And so we started to see each other more consistently. And in hindsight, I realized that even from the beginning, there were a lot of red flags, but I decided to continue to pursue this situationship. And there were a couple of situations where I was just like, okay, yeah, no. And I'm gonna share them with you in a second, but I will say from the very beginning, because of those initial red flags, I always just felt kind of uneasy about him, but I didn't really know what it was. But we'll get there. So one situation, we were in Kroger and we were getting some wine and some snacks and stuff, but we were going through the self-checkout line. So if you go through self-checkout and you're buying alcohol, you have to show them your ID. And so he was paying for the stuff. And so when it was time to show his ID, he he tells me, he's like, show her your ID. And I'm like, well, why can't you show her your ID? In the moment, I didn't want to make a scene. I showed the woman my ID. We got the stuff. And so when we got outside, I asked him, well, why didn't you want to show the person your ID? And he's like, I don't have one. And I'm like, how do you not have an ID? And he made up this whole long story and scenario about DMV and COVID and all this nonsense. But I let it go. Kind of. I mean, of course, it's still in the back of my mind. Another thing that I noticed when we would go out to eat and he would pay, he would he would try to prevent me from seeing his card. So it was almost like he would rush to give the card to the waitress or whatever. Or kind of just, it seemed like he had something to hide. And of course he did, but we'll get there. And again, I'm feeling uneasy, but still I'm excited about this person because I'm drawn to him. I'm telling my friends about him. And even in the conversations with my friends, I'm saying, there's something about him, or he reminds me of someone, but I couldn't really pinpoint it. I would even talk to my therapist about him. And I really just wanted her to be like, you can't talk to this man anymore. Like, there's something about him that you just need to leave him alone. But her thing was, you really just have to trust the situation. You just have to see how it plays out. If something bad happens, you have to trust that you're going to be okay. And if something good happens, then great. You can, be in a relationship with this person and everything will be fine. So I just, I continued on, even though I was putting a little bit of distance in between us because just something was not right. And so things like that, basically him demonstrating to me that he had something to hide, those small things continued to happen. And so I just started to dig. The internet is a great resource, right? And come to find out, although he lied about a lot of things, he didn't lie about everything. And also, I'm just a very observant person. And so I'm just taking in information as it comes, not really knowing what to do with it at the moment, but just storing it for later. And so I started to do some research, and I find out that this man is a whole husband and a whole dad. And when I found out, like, it all just started to make sense. Honestly, this was the perfect scenario for someone who was married, because I'm a single mom. I have a daughter, and she's my number one priority. I'm not going to bring anyone around her or introduce her to anyone or bring anyone to my house. It just wasn't happening. So the time that we had to spend with each other was very limited. It just worked out in his favor, in terms of him being able to lie and have a whole nother family, on the side. But anyway, so, of course, I'm not going to date someone else's husband. And so we're talking on the phone, and I bring it up, and he hangs up. He doesn't try to explain himself or anything. He hangs up, and that was all the closure I needed. I didn't call him back. I didn't try to text him. I didn't try to reach out to him after that. At that moment, I'm done. There's nothing else for me to do in this scenario, right? So I really could have caused a lot of ruckus in his life, because I now have a lot of information I have names of people, I have their contact information, but I just decided to let it go. And I realized in that moment that this was a lesson that I needed, because sometimes I can be very hard headed and it takes very extreme circumstances for me to get the point. So all that to say, don't be like me. But anyway, so that was really what initiated the single season. And so that was in 2021. And from then on, I decided, like, you need to be by yourself. And there were a few things, obviously, that were alarming about that situation. One being the fact that I saw red flags at the beginning, but I decided to continue to talk to him. And a lot of that, I feel like a lot of people go through that because they don't want to be by themselves. Being alone, meaning not romantically connected to anyone, is hard. When you're alone, you have to, get used to your own company. You have to, sift through your own emotions and thoughts. You have to get to know what you like. It's hard to be alone, especially when you see other people who are partnered and they look happy. And you want to experience that as well. But I was afraid to be alone. And this was a clear indication of that. Something else that was even more alarming. Remember, I said that I mentioned to my friends that he reminded me of someone. And he did. So pretty much I had been attracting, and not in every relationship or situationship, but in more than one. And it also has shown up in friendships as well. But I attracted the same person with a different face. That is very scary, because this isn't a good person, but they're like not only drawn to me or attracted to me, but I am engaging with them. So those things were very alarming, which just solidified, okay, girl, you need to take some time to yourself and just be alone. And I'm so glad that I did that. And it has been probably really, I won't say the best years of my life, because that might be taking it too far, but it was really, it was a time that I needed, for sure, because I had never been alone as an adult. I had always been attached to someone, either, someone trying to pursue me, or me interacting or engaging with a man. And again, to me, that was a problem. So single season was absolutely necessary. So how am I taking advantage of the single season? I've really been taking advantage of it in a lot of ways, for sure. But one of the things that I find myself is one of the things that I find myself in is gratefulness. I'm actually very grateful to be single, because, when you're partnered and you're with someone, you don't only have to be worried about your emotions, but you also have to be worried about, or concerned about, or pay attention to someone else's emotions. And I really can take the time to focus on me and work through things that I need to work through. I think, we just as a society, we make singlehood or single life seem so negative, and it really isn't. This really is a time for you to do whatever it is that you want to do. It's a time to heal. So gratefulness is something that I've definitely experienced. I've also become very self-aware. And this is important to relationships, especially when it comes to conflict, because a lot of times when we get into it with our significant other, it's always, you did this, you made me feel this way, I don't like it when you do this, instead of really asking ourselves that question, like, how did we contribute to the argument or to the conflict? What did we do, or how did we show up? So when you are alone, you have time to reflect back on who you are, figure out who you are. You can also reflect back on past relationships and, things that you originally thought or blamed someone else for. You turn the tables and look at yourself. So becoming more self-aware is directly attached to a benefit of being single. Also learning to trust yourself. So in that situation that I just shared, I talked about not really, like, feeling a way, but not being sure. And because I wasn't sure, I wasn't able to act on it as fast as I should have. And so in that particular situation that I was in, because I have experienced a lot of trauma when it comes to relationships, I wasn't sure if it was that trauma showing up. So like all of those past things that had happened, because they weren't healed, if I was blaming someone else for somebody else's doing, or if I like legitimately had a concern, was discerning something that was happening, and I was able to go with it. I couldn't trust myself. I didn't know which situation I was in, and that's not good. So now that I have been single, I've been alone, I've taken the time to, back to the self-awareness piece, get to really know myself, get to really trust myself and validate myself in that a lot of the things that you feel are true. It's not just a gut feeling. Like you can whatever you're feeling, you can go with it. And even if you're wrong, you'll still be okay in the long run, but just don't let those feelings of uncertainty just linger without acting on them. So I have learned to trust myself, which is important in so many different aspects of life outside of relationships, but definitely with relationships. And then I've also been able to take advantage of singleness by really understanding what I want and what I need in a partner. And doing that from a healed place. I think that is the important part of it. So now that I'm a healed person and I see the world very differently, I engage with people very differently. And I still have things to work on. Let me just say that. But a lot of the things that I had going on, I've been able to work through those things. And so now I can say, I want these things out of a partner, or I need these things out of a partner, or these are the deal breakers in terms of a relationship, or the characteristics of, someone that I want to be involved with and to share my life with. So being single and alone has been amazing. And again, it's a season, because we're not going to be here forever. I really believe that God gives us the desires of our heart, and my desire is to be in a relationship. My desire is to be married again. But really just sitting in this moment and really appreciating it for what it is, and not looking at it like a negative thing. And so I really wanted to share that story, because I don't want people to have to go through that type of, and thankfully it was only like a 2 month span. You know, it wasn't a long time. So I wasn't really invested in this relationship, but it was very disappointing and it caused heartache that and disappointment that I didn't need to go through that. Um, so be okay with being by yourself. You are enough as you are. Like, you don't have to be coupled or partnered with someone to have value, and you can find so much value in being by yourself. And I also wanted to share the fact that, I keep talking about being healed and, bringing things into a relationship. So I had a dream, and this is when my ex-husband and I were, we were separated and going through a divorce and all of those things. And I'm just so thankful that God knows me and he knows, you know, what I was feeling. I was feeling a lot of condemnation. The Bible says God hates God hates divorce. Oh my gosh. God hates divorce. And, I was feeling really bad about it. And I had a dream, and the dream was, it was my ex-husband and we were driving to view a house. It was a new house that we were going to see. So we were going to meet the realtor so that she could show us this new house. And of course, we're excited. When we drive up, it looks like how a new house is supposed to look. The lawn is like perfectly landscaped and it's well painted. It looks bright and beautiful. And, we're even more excited. And then we walk in and it looks like the ceiling goes like to heaven, basically. It was like all of these floors, and it was all of this furniture and stuff in there. And we're looking around like, you're expecting to go into a new house and the house be empty, but it was all of these other people's things. And I just knew it to be like things that belong to other people because, we didn't bring it there. And, we're looking at the realtor like, what's up with this? Why is all this stuff here? And then I woke up. And I really believe that was just God just showing me what relationships can look like. So you start a relationship, it's bright, it's shiny, it's new, you're excited, and then you get into it, and then there's all of this stuff that belongs to other people that really doesn't belong there. And so you both bring lives full of experiences and situations. But if you don't heal and if you don't clean those things out, there's no possible way that you can join lives with another person and have a fresh start. So again, enjoy the single season, take advantage of the single season. It's okay. So that's that on that. All right. So the third segment is called The Beauty Secret. And here we just share a tip, an internal and external beauty secret that may help improve your life. So today, the external beauty secret is to wear sunscreen. Now, it doesn't matter if you are the most melanated person on the earth. It doesn't matter if you have strong masculine skin. You need to wear sunscreen on your face when you're going out of the house into the elements. I would suggest at least a SPF 30. You really just want to protect your skin from the harsh rays from the sun. It really helps when it comes to anti-aging. If you have hyperpigmentation on your skin, If you're out in the sun, it's just going to make that hyperpigmentation even darker. There are so many sunscreens on the market now. They have sunscreen and moisturizer. So there's really no excuse for not protecting your skin when you go out in the sun. So if you're not already using sunscreen, please pick up some sunscreen and protect your skin. And then the internal beauty secret is grounding, or some people may call it earthing. But just think about if you walk outside in the grass barefoot, or if you walk through the sand on the beach with no shoes on, you put your feet in the water. If you are into gardening, you put your hands in the soil to plant whatever you're planting. If you're a swimmer and you swim in an ocean or a lake, all of those things can be considered grounding or earthing. And it's really just connecting with the earth. It's connecting with nature. There's a lot of science behind it. I won't get into all that. I can link an article for you all to read about it. But essentially the earth has a electric charge. And so when your body is connecting with the earth, that can benefit you. So some benefits of grounding are improved mood, improved blood flow, reduced pain, reduced stress, improved wound healing, decreased fatigue and tiredness. So this is something that doesn't cost anything, that doesn't take a lot of time, but has scientific benefits to your life. And, we're going through a lot. The world it's like every new day, it feels like it's something else that, we have to endure or that we have to go through. So any small thing or practice or method that we can incorporate into our lives just to make our lives better, why not just try it just to see if it works for you? So I will link this article for you all just so you can, take a look at it and see if it's something that might benefit your life. So yeah, that brings us to the end of episode 4. Thank you so much for listening or watching. I received some comments and some texts and just really validation or affirmation, which I always appreciate. I realize that time is precious. And so the fact that you all have taken the time to listen or watch, I really appreciate it. I really do. If you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to give this video a like. Feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know what your favorite part of the episode was, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you're listening to this in the audio format, so Spotify, Apple, all of those platforms, please feel free to leave a 5-star rating. Let me know what you think about the episode. About the podcast in general. And then also you can subscribe wherever you're getting your podcast to make sure you're updated about new episodes. So I hope you all are doing well. I really do. If you haven't heard it today, even if you have, you can hear it again. I love you. Take care and stay beautiful. Bye, y'all.